brown. I think this is made for traveling English speakers here because the English is more prominent than the Mandarin that's on there.
I have since 1994 Win Cafe X2. That's the only thing I can read on this whole can. Oh wait, there's some numbers. I don't know. It's coffee. It's got Optimus Prime on the backside.
Is that why you bought it?
That's it. That's the only reason why I bought it, because it's got Optimus Prime on it. I'm like, I know that guy.
This thing has ingredients. Don't yell too loud. We got people sleeping. It's the middle of the night right now.
It is the middle of the night.
It is like 3 a.m. So we just got off the jet. We're jet lagged. Maybe not too bad. Had some food. Crashed. Woke up in the middle of the night now. Like this is morning for us, kind of. Even though it's the middle of the day in the USA.
It's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 3 o'clock in the afternoon in New York.
We decided the tech must go on.
Yes,
so here we are in the hotel room. We're going to be doing, we're talking a little bit about what's going on, and then we're going to talk about what's going to happen with Computex. Computex is coming up, and we have some special surprises for Computex. I want to say thanks to Corsair for helping us get out here. They're our only sponsor for this trip, but I really didn't ask that many people. I asked Corsair, and I was like, I think that'll pay for our tickets, so let's just go with it. Didn't really bother anybody else, but thanks very much, Corsair. We'll have some fun stuff coming up with that. And also, we're going to do things a little bit differently this time. Normally, we go and we interview all of the different people and let them give us their marketing, blurb for all their stuff. This time, we're going to talk to a few different people. I mean, every once in a while, you meet I do like Corsair's people. They've got some guys that are pretty down to earth, even though they do have a Corsair slant to what they say. So I think that's cool. But when it comes to just if we just find a marketing person who just wants to tell us that their products is the best thing ever, we'll sit down and we'll listen to them. And then we are going to make the video without them to show you guys what it is, if we think it's cool enough. Does that sound all right?
Sounds good to me. I mean, because that's one of the things that I think we always try to do is we try to remain a certain level of unbiased and not sales pitchy. Even though we do come up and say, this is a product, this is what's going on. We don't really say it's good or bad unless we're like, we really like this.
Well, if we like it, we say, hey, we like this, but... the main goal here is to give you guys information so that you guys can be educated and make good decisions, and that's
exactly. We're not really trying to sway you one way or another.
I'm opening everything at once. You've got everything open.
I do. I've got my Picari sweat here.
Picari sweat.
I don't know how many Picaris it took to sweat to make this can, but thank you, Picaris, because
they keep those things on a treadmill all day long, and underneath the treadmill there's a little bucket, and then
I'm guessing they probably have like some kind of one of those ShamWow towels, and they just absorb the sweat off of these small creatures. I figure they're small. I mean, I couldn't imagine trying to collect sweat off of something like the size of a bear.
That's really good. So I got black coffee here. It's just coffee and water. Right. And then this is the Blue Mountain Blend coffee. I think this is really good. You guys ready to talk about some technology? Well, or listen to us talk about some technology and then talk about it in the comments. Solar Roadways has completely blown past their $1 million crowdfunding goal. They did it really fast.
Yeah, I was watching the tech last week when you and Wendell were talking about this, and I flipped over to the link for this Indiegogo page, and it had already passed 1 million. So I mean, by the time you guys made the video and then your video went live, I think I was watching it on Saturday, they had blown past it, and they actually bypassed the number of supporters and number of backers that the Oatmeal had for the Tesla Museum.
Really?
So the actual quantity of people who have paid into this has flown past that.
Like the best idea ever, and it seems like the most rudimentary thing as far as we should have done this a long time ago. I guess rudimentary is not the right word, but it's the most basic. We should have done this.
It's kind of counterintuitive to how we currently supply power. Like right now we have a very centralized power generation, which is where I think when Wendell was impractical. Yes, as a centralized source of power, I completely agree this would be impractical, which is Arizona's got a giant solar plant, but it's a giant solar plant. But if you were to distribute the power input, so you distribute these panels all over the place, you wouldn't have them wiring back to a centralized transformer hub that's just holding all this power. I think you would actually have a neighborhood would have all of these things in the running around their paved out in their neighborhood. All the houses would just tap into this local grid. Mm-hmm. So you wouldn't have this long haul chunk of highway that would be filled up with these things.
I mean, that would be the best idea.
Power. I mean, that would be probably the most power generating, but then that's where Wendell's point of the impracticality of transmitting that power is kind of a pain in the ass.
And the cost.
And the cost would be astronomical. I mean, now that right there, I completely agree with. But if you're looking at a small town or a parking lot for a business, you pave your parking lot with these things. Suddenly, you can change your layout of your parking lot if you wanted to because they're all LEDs controlled. I mean, imagine that. Imagine having a parking lot where you could just on the fly, it's rush hour or it's busy time, so let's change the dynamic of the parking lot.
Well, you know you're gonna have some jackasses redoes all the parking spaces to make everyone double parked and then gives everybody a ticket.
That's why not take the lines away. No parking, you jackass. This was a handicap parking space today.
It would sure make things a lot easier in New York City because you have like 7 signs on top of signs, and all the rules are like you may park here between 7 and 7:27, but not on Tuesday or Thursday because a guy's going to come by with a broom. If you're parked here, you're going to get booted or towed on those hours. However, if you're a truck, you can park here during those hours as long as your tailpipe is red, and that's all on one sign in New York. Why they could just put it on the ground.
I was just actually remembering it because we were driving around New York before we left to come here, and we took 45 minutes to find a parking space, and every single time we were like, oh look, that's a fire hydrant. Oh no, there's another fire hydrant.
Oh, commercial vehicle only.
Commercial vehicles only between these hours during this day of the week, and I'm like, oh yeah, it is the weekday because normally I'm at work during the day, so I'm just like.
And then you're like, all we need is a magnetic decal with the logo on it, so we can just slap it on the side of the car. So, what the hell did I just say? I'm not speaking any language. We've been in so many different countries right now that I don't even know.
It's giving me a headache.
We're gonna be in a new.
But yeah, if we had like a magnetic logo with Tech Syndicate, slap it on the side of the car. Suddenly we're a commercial vehicle. We have 2 hours of parking.
Yeah.
Do we have to get a commercial plate? We'll make a magnetic one of those. Too.
Anyway, back to this. What I was saying is that. With the solar roadways, all you could say is if you're not a fuck-off truck with the red tailpipe, no parking.
Yeah. I mean, the nice part about this is it's dynamic, and I could see, actually, in New York, it would actually make more sense because it's so tightly packed that if you were, you get a lot of shade, but you get a lot of sun in all those roads as well. But if you had, like Fifth Avenue was all solar panels, you could change the traffic patterns on the fly. You can change the lanes and the directional on the fly. Even in Arizona, where they've got a section of road downtown Phoenix where during rush hour, this one road turns into a one-way. It's like an 8-lane road in the middle of Phoenix, and it turns into one direction. And it's only during rush hour, which is really a pain in the ass if you show up there 2 minutes before you're going the wrong way. They're like, get out of the damn road because, wow, they're at 1.6 now?
Yep.
Wow, so they're actually when I looked at it last time, it was like 1.3.
Yeah, 1.6, 21 days left. They're doing well.
But the nice part about this is even if it doesn't go to where it's widespread across the whole country, but you can put it in places like small towns in the southern states. You could make the entire town power independent from a greater grid because it's all solar. And once they're installed, these guys, I watched their little video and it shows that they're talking about the channels that run alongside the road. One's going to be for water runoff, and they're actually looking at putting mini hydroelectric power. Wow, it's been too long since I've had vocabulary.
Like hydroelectric power generator and things inside the turbines
they're gonna have
or whatever.
Turbines, thank you. They're going to have like hydroelectric turbines that they're going to be putting into there. So when the water comes down and starts flowing out, they're redirecting the water elsewhere. You can put it anywhere from instead of having water, wastewater runoff from wherever, you can dump it to a processing plant to get it purified or get it cleaned up or whatnot. But you can also generate power in the midst of it. They were talking about doing that kind of thing too.
Here's my question: everything sounds really good, right? It's going to be expensive. We've heard Wendell's, and Wendell's not. I want to make sure I'm not putting words in Wendell's mouth. He is not against this. He's just seeing the whole picture.
And he's looking at it from a specific angle. I am looking at it from the polar opposite angle, and we're both for, yet at the same time we're very concerned about the practicality and how is it going to work.
So it's funded. Now what? Like they funded it. That doesn't mean there's going to be solar roadways all over the country right now.
Not yet, no.
Just because they funded it.
They already have federal funding. This was just to help
some federal funding,
but this was to help add to that so they can then get a better manufacturing plant where they can actually make a better panel. Like they were talking about how this panel's got, I think it's 80% of the surface is solar panels.
Yeah.
They want to make one that's the whole surface minus the mounting pegs are solar panels. So you actually have full solar. The entire hex is a solar panel instead of
you know what?
Just 80% of it. I mean, it increases the efficiency per whatever square foot or whatnot.
It seems like they've got this to a point where it's actually doing things, and the technology is somewhat there. Like you said, there's need to be new iterations and that sort of thing. I think this money should be used for lobbying. that would get us way farther, because that much money in lobbying can buy us $1 billion in actual, stuff happening.
That's actually not a bad idea.
You send a couple of guys to Washington, D.C. to crawl up some, Congress critter's ass and just feed him money. Feed him money, because that's how they live. Money is their leaves and their koala. Their money is their eucalyptus and their koala bears, right?
Sure.
They just lounge around. They're high all day on money. And they go, anybody got any more money for me? You can have anything you want. So we just feed them the money, and then we remind them that we own them. This is the way the world works. Unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
But why can't we lobby for good? There's not enough. I mean, I don't think a lot of times I don't think that people with good ideas think about that. It seems like a lot of the scientists and inventors and that sort of thing out there, they just completely don't even. They leave politics alone. They're too busy working on their widget or their thing.
They're
or
too
their
busy
idea.
trying to make the world a better place, and you've got all of the lawyers and businessmen are sitting in their high horse,
eating their freaking eucalyptus. Anyway, so yeah, that's what I think we should do. We should spend some money on that, and maybe if you guys are watching out there, out in Idaho, if you guys are watching the people who are making the solar roadways, consider putting some of this money in the pockets of some people in Washington, D.C., who can actually get some things done and can actually move some things forward and can actually, divert some money this way.
Yeah, because if you could get a VC to dump 10 times as much money into this as you're getting off of the crowdsourcing. I mean, granted, of course, the idea here is that, you've crowdsourced, $1.5 million. And if we turn around and just dump it into some guy who's going to go to Washington and yell at somebody for, a year to make some change, that's long term. Absolutely, I'm going for that. I think the short term and the instant gratification functionality of people who have put money into this, it's like, what are you doing with our money? Well, we gave it to this guy to go and argue our case. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work. Where if they take the money and actually build their facilities and build what they need to build so they can actually start manufacturing these things, it may take longer. But like I said, if they're selling these panels to parking lots, to private businesses, and then it gets adopted in that direction, then it's you're making progress instead of hoping for somebody to give you money to make progress.
Well, okay, they're already over their goal, so they wanted $1 million. They already have enough to do what they originally envisioned to do.
Sure.
So they could take the $1 million and do that, and now they could set up stretch goals. That's what the next stretch goal I would like to see would be like install some people in Washington D.C. to harass the Congress critters and the senators.
I'm for that. I'm definitely for that.
All right, let's move along here and take a look at this interesting sort of new invention to make your house a little bit bigger. I'm just going to go through this quickly.
This looks kind of interesting. I mean, I was looking through this because it's funny, because I've been actually thinking about something like this, because I live in New York, so I live in that small space.
Yeah, it's really, really handy for small spaces, and also, being over here, where we are now in Taipei, people live so close together, because, I mean, there's a lot of people packed into a very small area. This would be amazing for them, because you have, it's like one big box that becomes your bed, your kitchen counter, and your dining table, and it just all slides around, as you can see here in the video. And then also, if you need more room in your shower, it just slides over. And
well, in this case here, the shower actually gets disconnected and cut off when the counter space is where it's its default position. You actually have to open it up to get into your shower, so that way your toilet's accessible, but your shower is not, unless you need it.
You know what? They've also removed the largest obstacle, and that is human laziness. Because if you have this big thing, right, and you have to pull down to get your bed, and you have to push and pick up and lift to do things, you probably won't do it. And unfortunately, not everyone. It seems like a lot in modern societies, modern developed societies have become somewhat lazy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But now, it's just, you want to get your bed out, and your bed starts sliding out. It's all motion control.
Yeah, and it's like, depending on the height of your hand, like, this is the table, this is the this is the bed, this is the table, this is something else, this is the counter.
You are the Moses of your living room.
Well. Yeah, and it's all voice commanded as well.
I think it's kind of cool. I'd like to see more stuff like this. I don't like the style of it aesthetically, personally. I think it's kind of...
Yeah. I mean, it's very, very modern home kind of thing. And it's, when I saw it, I'm like, this is kind of nifty.
Victorian.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I've got an idea where I was going to build a bed that folds up, all fancy, but where you're saying, this one's all motion controlled. I was like, pull this thing out here, flip this thing out, have the whole thing manually controlled, and then add, motorized buttons later on. But
oh, make a manual one for those who are willing to do it and make it cheaper. People will pay for their laziness, and that's fine. I'm totally fine with that. If you want to pay extra to be lazy, that's fine. Or also, sometimes it's not that they're lazy; it's just that they really don't have time. They're off to like 7 meetings, and they don't have time to rearrange their house. They just need to go like this, get it out, have someone over, have breakfast, and then go to a meeting. So it's not always laziness, I guess. Sometimes it's devoting your time or reallocation of time.
Fine. Yeah, exactly.
All right, moving right along here. Deutsche Telekom, they're going to be buying T-Mobile. Let me clap because I'm dying here. Oh no, Paul, the poison is kicking in.
It was from that really awesome coconut
food. I'm going to leave that in because I know Paul's going to be here soon, right?
Yes.
I'm not even going to clap.
He said that no amount of time or space is going to stop him. He responded. He was adamant about. He's going to take you down, man. I'm very concerned because we're in another country. He's going to actually. There's a higher chance that he's going to do something dangerous out here because it's going to be easier to randomly dispose of the body. I'm more worried about myself now.
I'm more dangerous too, Paul. Let's move along then. Deutsche Telekom. I've still got something in my throat. They've accepted SoftBank's offer to buy T-Mobile. So it looks like it's going to go through, and it looks like Sprint is going to own T-Mobile. There goes T-Mobile, the company that was hip, the jeans and T-shirt wearing company. Out of all these stiff, rigid, boring, corporate type cell phone companies, T-Mobile has been swallowed by Sprint.
If they take away the international roaming data and texting function that T-Mobile just implemented...
That is saving our lives.
Right now, I mean, I didn't know this when we got here, because the last time I left the country, it was, last year, and it wasn't in place. And I had to get a local SIM in Australia, and I had to, got a new number, I got everything going on. I get here, and I left my phone off, because, I went to England about 4 years back, and I ended up with a $1,000 phone bill, because I got lost in the middle of, Salisbury, and I needed to find out how I could get out of there. So I just said, screw it, turned my phone on, got GPS turned on, got my data, got my maps, and drove out. $1,000 phone bill, which was kind of a pain in the ass, because you get back and you're like, that trip suddenly cost me 4 times as much as I wanted to spend. But so now here we've got I got 3G on my phone, which isn't a lot, really fast, but it's good enough for me to send texts. I can make phone calls, but they're 20 cents a minute. Anyway, regardless, T-Mobile's implemented this in the last 3 or 4 months.
Right.
And it's very great, and I'm happy with it.
Okay, here's the good news.
I'm not a big fan of Sprint, and I've never been a big fan of Sprint. They also run on a different radio. They run on CDMA networks. Mm-hmm. The T-Mobile runs on GSM. Are they going to merge? Is everything going to go GSM, or everything going to go CDMA? Are you going to be able to get either or? Are they going to come out with full world phones so you can do all of the above? I mean...
I'd like to see some CDMAW, but I'm not sure. I mean, the thing that I think is going to happen with this is... it's going to give the customers fewer choices, and that's always bad. The only thing that I see that could be a possible positive out of all this is the fact that they are throwing around the name John Legere. That's the CEO of T-Mobile, the one who has been pushing for a lot of these new changes and to get rid of contracts, and they're trying to be the uncarrier. They've been throwing his name around, and his name is probably at the top right now when it comes to CEO. Like, who's going to be the CEO of this new company? So if he's the CEO of the new company...
I will feel less bad. I won't say I'll feel good about it, but I will feel less bad.
Well, I mean, there's also the chance that he becomes the CEO, right? But the CEO still doesn't own the company. There's still a board, and there's still a bank involved here.
I mean, you get the shareholders. I mean, this is one of those things where a corporation's mindset, not as the people who are running it, but the people who are running a business have a responsibility to the corporation as an entity as a whole, and the entity as a whole's sole purpose is to provide a profit for the shareholders. I mean, that's the sole purpose behind a corporation's mindset, is that it needs to make a profit at any and all costs. I mean, that's its responsibility. It's in the charter, make a profit. So while he may be the CEO of this, and I like where he's going with this, and I like the fact that he's catering to and he's appeasing people like me and my mindset for dealing with this kind of stuff. What about the board? What are they going to do? Is it going to be the same board from Sprint? Are they going to try to contracts? Blah blah. Are they going to still try to function in the same way we've been functioning for the last 20 years? We have to wait and see. And unfortunately, that's what we have to do. We have to wait and see. And
Fewer choices, and that's the bottom line for me. Fewer choices.
You have Sprint.
I hate it.
I have T-Mobile. I love it. Yeah. So I would hate for me to end up in a position where I now hate my phone and my phone service because I move into this Sprint mobile thing, and you're like, yeah, I got an improvement. Because then
it's really funny because I got Sprint when I was in Florida because the 4G was so fast, and I was actually using it at my dad's house. He had 20 up, 20 down and like 5 up, and my phone was way faster than his. I was getting like almost 100 sometimes.
That's because you were on the. They had a WiMAX. It wasn't a cellular. It was basically like a wide area Wi-Fi.
Anyway, I moved out of there, and now every time I mention Sprint to somebody, like up in the north, they're all like, "That's ghetto, man." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't know that it was ghetto when I got it on 2-year contract, and now I'm stuck." Yeah. I mean, my contract ended like 3 days ago.
Oh, nice.
So I can do whatever I want. Do whatever. But Sprint.
I was going to suggest go to T-Mobile.
I'll do whatever I want.
I was going to suggest going to T-Mobile, but if you wait 6 months to a year, you're going to be back in the same boat anyway.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So I'm probably not just going to have no phone.
Why not?
Google Voice and VoIP. I'm done. I'm done with it all. All right, moving right along here. We were going to talk about TrueCrypt, and if you've missed the news, we'll just give you the basics. TrueCrypt just posted something online saying, hey, this is not safe.
Stop using TrueCrypt.
Stop using it, and they used a DNS redirect, which kind of weirded a bunch of people out.
And there was a lot of speculation as to what and how that got put in place, because they were like, where did this come from? What's going on?
People freaked out.
A lot of people freaked out. Cory Doctorow wrote a really, really great article surrounding the mysterious what happened, what's going on. And this was all speculative at the time he wrote this.
I mean, this is a great article, but now the guy, I mean, the problem is that this happened without an announcement from the people behind TrueCrypt, so everyone was like, it's been hacked. But the bottom line now is the guys from TrueCrypt came out and they were like, listen, we discovered it wasn't secure, and we just discontinued development. And that's the end of it for now, unless there's someone with a gun to their heads, in which case this would be a good plot for a movie.
Yes. At which point still it'd be the dun, dun, dun.
I mean, because TrueCrypt is something that right now, the hot thing is a lot of journalists are using TrueCrypt to send files, to and from one another. And that is something that can really rub the powers that be the wrong way, because they get things and they're like, we can't open this file.
Yeah. I mean, even Snowden, even Edward Snowden was like, use this. And he suggested it in a talk that he did right before he vanished or, got on the run. And this article what Cory wrote, he mentions that.
Mentions the Snowden thing.
Mentions Snowden.
So anyway, right now it looks like false alarm, and we're going to move on to Dish Network. Dish Network now has become the largest company to accept Bitcoin payments.
Not bad.
It's kind of groovy. I mean, it's right now we've got DirecTV, and AT&T is trying to buy DirecTV. I think they actually did buy DirecTV. I think they went through, the banks approved it. I'm not sure if everything else has been approved yet. I'm not sure if there's been government approval, but it looks like AT&T purchased DirecTV. And then we have Dish, now that's like kind of out on their own, because that's a major company now. That's like a company big enough to bother Comcast.
I mean, every single time I hear about one of these companies trying to accept Bitcoins, and I kind of laugh because I'm like, yes, score one for the little guy. But then at the same time, because of the way that the current currency powers view Bitcoin, is they're viewing it as a commodity. This would be like if Dish Network suddenly decided that, will you take Pocari Sweat as payment for my TV? Yes, we will. I mean, it's the same
more like stocks. I mean, it's like, hey,
well, no, that's what I mean, though. But it's a commodity.
Yeah.
It's like
exactly.
5 shares of Pocari Sweat for my service. Sure, yeah. And I'll just keep paying in Pocari Sweat stock. I mean, regardless. But that's kind of how
2 tons of pork bellies.
But the more companies that do this, the less like a commodity and more like a currency it becomes.
Okay, I didn't put this in the show because it's more than 10 days old or whatever, but I don't know why it didn't make it into the cut, but PayPal, the CEO of PayPal, said that they are now considering Bitcoin as a form of payment, or you're considering Bitcoin integration.
That would be kind of
That would be huge, because think about everybody on eBay. And then the other problem with Bitcoin is that it's nearly impossible to set up a monthly recurring payment with Bitcoin. However, PayPal has the functionality to do monthly recurring payments, and they could implement that in with some math on the back end to make sure that you're always paying the equivalent of $20 or $30 a month for whatever services you have, and just pull it out of your Bitcoins.
Yeah, because that would actually be really, really nice, because you could have, because you can like with PayPal you can get paid in any currency, and then you can transfer it to a separate currency. So you can get paid in UK, British pounds.
Yeah.
You can transfer them to USD. You can transfer them to Taiwanese dollars. You can transfer them to
or possibly get paid in bitcoins and transfer them to usable fiat currency.
Exactly. That would be really great. PayPal, get on that.
Please do that. And I mean, because in the past, their history of Bitcoin has been like, we don't want to touch that, and if you touch it, we're going to look at your account and be like, what's going on here?
And also, while you're at it, PayPal just allow direct deposits to make yourselves more like a bank, because I'd be very happy with that.
Have you seen the time? Your watch is broken.
Yeah, I know.
But I think you know what time it is.
I do know what time it is.
It is Rant 30. So there's a bill that would prohibit the FCC from reclassifying broadband as a utility.
I'm only upset right now more than I normally would be, which is pretty a lot, because it is the middle of the night, and I can't actually go on a full blow-on rant, because this is like...
All right, I'm gonna lay down the news right fast, and then I'm gonna let you go off, because this is something that really needs... yeah. Okay, so... a representative, Bob Latta, he's an Ohio Republican in the House, and he has put forth a bill, or I guess what is it, a proposal for a bill or whatever, that would basically block the FCC from reclassifying broadband as a common carrier telecommunications service under Title II of the Telecommunications Act.
Which is what we've been asking for a while now.
Now, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why someone like this would have done this. And let me just... here's what he said in his statement. I'm just going to read this statement real quick. He says, at a time when the internet economy is thriving and driving robust productivity and economic growth, it is reckless to suggest, let alone adopt, policies that threaten its success. Reclassification would heap 80 years of regulatory baggage on broadband providers, restricting their flexibility to innovate and placing them at the mercy of a government agency. Go.
Bullshit. That's bottom line is that's a total load of BS. We're talking about not reclassifying a telecommunications function. This is making my brain hurt. Okay. Who got to you, really?
Yeah,
who's paying you? Who got to you? Who told you that, oh, by the way, these companies who are now trying to act and operate more like AT&T was back in the 80s in this very monopolistic kind of pay myself to have somebody else pay me and everybody else pays me. Like my brain, I can't even handle this.
All right, let me pull back here, and I'm going to say something to all you libertarians out there, or all you people who think you're libertarians but might not actually be. And I'm going to tell you why you're not a libertarian. So, a libertarian sees this, and a libertarian, by definition, should be against net neutrality because net neutrality, I guess it adds government regulation, and that interferes with free markets, right?
Sure.
So a libertarian should say, you know what? Let Comcast go do this. Let AT&T go do this. Let these companies go out there and try to destroy the internet because the free market will respond. And don't not yet. I know I'm going to let you explode in just a minute. The free market will respond, and the free market will fix this. However, the thing that most libertarians don't think about is what the fuck happens when they cheat, and what the fuck happens when they start using lawmakers in New York as business tools. Because that's not something that nice people think about. And it's like, hey, they're cheating. Now are you still libertarian? And the response is usually like, oh, they're cheating. I didn't think about that. What do we do now? So you have to have regulations like this to ensure that these companies don't cheat and act like assholes.
See, it's if you're a company like Comcast or Time Warner or any of these big cable companies, and you are making it more and more difficult for, say, you and me to start up our own broadband provider and start up our own functionality, they're like, oh, you can totally do this if you have this much money. Well, how do you...
Well, that's illegal in North Carolina and other places because they've actually regulated against small businesses in favor of the big business, saying that only big businesses are allowed to provide...
It's just like the whole Google thing. It's like, oh, service. No, Google's going to hurt the... Yes, that's called a free market, you If I have enough money to build competition and lay my pipes right next to yours, that's the whole point. If you stop me from doing that and then try to restrict the functionality by saying, oh, we can do whatever the hell we want, but nobody else can do whatever the hell we want, that's a monopoly.
Yeah, I mean, in a true free market, I mean, like without any regulation, these major chemical corporations could just dump sludge into any river they wanted 24 hours a day.
Sure.
You can't let that happen. So,
and that's where this is where the they can do that. right up until the point where, as a free market, instead of having a business come along and say, hey, I've got a cleaner way to do this, and let's just not buy from them because I can do it cleaner, we as a population, as a people, as a democracy that we exist in, come up and say, hey, wait a minute. We don't like what you're doing. But because it costs so damn much to create a piece of competition who's going to do it better than you, we're going to just put a bunch of roadblocks in place so you can't be a dick. Now you have to be nice. Play nice, or we're going to take your, we should be able to just revoke some of these business charters. And just like, sorry, we're going to take your license away because you can't actually operate as a business because you're too busy trying to screw us all over. That's what it should happen. That's why it should happen. Isn't that there's like a functionality in California where they were trying to do that to some of these businesses? There's like stop you from being a jackass. The problem with these big companies not being reclassified is that currently they are operating inside of a telecommunications space without the regulation that we as a people want in place for them to stop screwing everybody over.
Unless it benefits them, like Verizon, whenever they need to dig a trench through someone's backyard, they just scream Title II and say, hey, we've got right to do whatever we want under Title II. And whenever it benefits them, they use Title II, even though they're not classified under that, and it's been working. They've been getting away with that.
Because of the type of stuff that they're trying to lay down on the ground falls under the Title II, sure. But them operating the actual service that they're running on these lines are not being operated or not being classified as such. But the fact that this guy's like, regulation, 80 years. Sure, 80 years. That's what, look what happened with AT&T without it over the course of the last 100 years, 80 years.
Okay, the FCC has received 46,000 comments on net neutrality in the last month. That's about as many hits as we got on some of our net neutrality videos, so...
If it's all you guys, thanks.
If it's all you guys, but I don't think it is all you guys. So we need everyone to bother the hell out of the FCC. We need 460,000,
and also anybody who's in a space where this what is this guy's name?
The Republican guy from Ohio, Bob Latta.
Bob Latta. If you happen to be anywhere near where you can send a letter to him, or actually just anybody, just start sending letters to him and say, "You're an idiot. Don't you dare do this."
We need some catchy name for Bob Latta something. What can we call him? Bob Latta?
I have nothing that would be appropriate for even internet television.
All right. But if you guys come, I want to hear some Bob Latta stuffs, like Bob Latta.
Yeah, let's come up with a name.
Bob Latta Butthead.
Something.
See? Like that. That was a bad one, just to give you guys an example of what to do to make a better one.
And try to keep it as, something that you would see on CNN. That's what you want. You want to make sure that this will somehow, at some point, when it gets popular enough, ends up on CNN. They're like, so a new Twitter hashtag has shown up. Bob, whatever, we want them to say it, because then it gets stuffed in front of everybody's face and draws attention to things that normally wouldn't be drawn attention to. That somebody posted this and said, hey, you guys need to look at this, and this one. And when we first got here into Taiwan, I found this on my phone. We were at the airport, and I was like, what the this is.
Yeah, you were
so
yelling.
Thank you
very much. Yelling at me while I was trying to mess with my passport and my tickets, and you're like, come on, we got to go through customs. You couldn't even go through customs. You were too busy raging.
I was like, what? And they're like, should we let him in the country? He's like, no, he's fine. He just found out that another politician in America is trying to screw us. And they're like, oh, you American? I'm like, yes. I'm like, get your ass in here.
Yeah,
it's okay.
I wish we could play the Canadian card when we're going through customs, but we can only do that when we're at bars and stuff.
Yeah.
No, don't kill us. We're Canadian.
Hey,
we're. Yeah. Sometimes
anyway.
It works. All right. So Comcast CEO.
Oh yeah.
His explanation for why his company is the most hated company in the country is hilarious. And I'm not going to go into this too much because I don't want to spend too much more time. So we got to get on a plane to Shanghai in a minute. And I want to upload this.
Yes.
So anyway, the CEO Brian Rogers of Comcast right now he had like a little thing at Recode. They had a conference, and he spoke at the conference, and he was taking questions from the audience. And the audience didn't waste any time. They immediately asked, why do you think your company is the most hated company in America? Now, just to preface this, they're the most hated company, and guess who's number two?
Isn't Time Warner number two?
Time Warner's number two. They're about to merge and make the most hated company in the history of everything. So anyway, his response is, his response was that Comcast is the company that consumers have to deal with when other companies raise their prices. So, and what he means by that is a lot of times Hollywood, they're making all these movies and they're all the TV shows and stuff like that.
And the TV networks, NBC, ABC, Fox, all of these, all the networks that are actually creating these shows, and those are licensed by the cable companies to be broadcast. So I mean that's how it works. These guys make the shows, they spend all this money, and then they sell licensing fees to the quantity of subscribers, whatnot. That Comcast has this many people, so if you want these many people to see this, these are how many subscribers you have. This is the fee that you're going to.
It's kind of the way they want to do the internet now. And if you think TV sucks, just imagine what that same business model would do to the internet.
Yeah.
Because so that's it's all pay to play type thing. But yeah, when pardon me, when a company raises their prices, Comcast has to raise their prices because their record profits are not enough.
Yeah.
So that was his response there.
Again, this is back to the mentality of the corporation. In order for them to maintain that profit margin, if Fox and ABC suddenly raise their licensing fees, the profit margin for Comcast goes down. And so in order for them to maintain and possibly increase their profit margin, they increase their prices, and then they add a bunch of additional fees on there to make sure they get a little extra time on the side and nickel and dime you to death.
It's hilarious. All right, so...
Anyway, he kind of hit the nail on the head, but at the same time, he missed it and smashed his thumb.
No, I think he totally missed it. I mean, no.
Well, I mean, no, he is the company that we have to deal with when companies raise their prices, but it's not because other companies raise their prices that we hate them. It's because they're still being dick faces about all of this.
Well, I don't hate them because they raise their prices at record rates, and they raised their prices like 300% faster than the rate of inflation over the last so many years, 20 years or something.
Yeah.
Their prices have gone up almost exponentially. That's not why I hate them. I hate them because when I pay for something, I don't get it. I pay for 20 megabits per second, I get 5. I pay for 100 megabits per second, I get...
You pay for up to 20 megs per second because, shut up, you're not supposed to think for yourself.
Yeah.
And now we're going to make Netflix pay for the same bandwidth that you're using.
But I get it.
Hey.
Yeah, but I get it on certain websites, especially if the website's owned by Comcast. I certainly get that speed, but if I go to a different website, I don't get it. So that's why I am angry with them, because I don't get what I'm paying for.
You don't get what you're paying for.
And then when you call if you've ever called Comcast, I want to say that it feels like there's two different Comcast companies, because once I moved to the north, they're a bit more efficient.
Maybe it's just because you're being routed to the other call center.
Yeah, and they weren't even able to connect to my Florida account. They were like, "Sir, we can't even look up records from Florida." So why is there a disconnect within a major?
Oh, that's because actually I know why. It's because you've got Comcast as the umbrella corporation that owns all these things.
Yeah.
But when you're in the north, you're on Roadrunner, or is that Time Warner?
I don't know, but everything says Comcast on my bill.
Everything says Comcast, but you'll have like the Xfinity in up north, but down in the south you used to have the other one that I no longer remember that was terrible.
Earthlink?
No, it wasn't Earthlink. It was
Adelphia.
Adelphia.
Yeah, they're different.
And I can't remember which one got bought by Time Warner and which ones got bought by Comcast. All I know is that that's the whole point, is that they've been swallowing up all kind of like AT&T did.
Yeah, they just look. It's gone from 20 to 10. Now there'll be 5 soon, and soon there'll be 4 major carriers. Soon there'll be 2,
and none of them will have a monopoly because each one caters to a different market, which I think is part of the. When you consider that's kind of a monopoly. If Time Warner and Comcast were actually competing in the same market, that would be competition. But since they're very separate,
well, it was brilliant. What they originally thought was lay down lines, and anybody can use those lines. So. Anybody, how awesome would it be if you could sit down at any house in America and be like, I've got Comcast, AT&T, and 2 local providers. Let's see what each of them have. Just like, remember long distance telephone?
That's what got the whole Class 2, the Title 2 reclassification would actually do, is that all of the lines would actually be shared and everybody could use them, and then it would drive down prices. And that would be bad for the innovation of the internet.
It'd be good for the people. All right, let's move on and talk about Google.
People schmeeple.
Schmeeple.
Picari sweat.
We are going to call out Google right now. We usually don't call out Google. Google, every once in a while, they do something that's kind of shady or asshatty. Actually, they probably do a lot of that.
But they don't get caught very often. And
because they can just remove the search results.
I know. I never actually defend Google. I just say this is them. This is where they stand.
With the table, because every time you smack it,
this is where they stand in a lot of things, and they're very their motto is they don't want to be evil. But then you see something like this, you're like, guys, all right, you're using your loopholes.
The news here is there's a company called Vivint, and they are a direct competitor to Nest. And Nest makes the thermostat, the intelligent thermostat that Google purchased that goes in your home. And right after Google purchased Nest,
I think it was within like a month and a half. That's what they said.
Maybe even less. Maybe in a week and a half.
No, it was 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay, within 2 weeks, Vivint, the website, everything completely removed from Google search results. And the only thing that Google said was that there was some weird and mysterious links on their website that we didn't think were good or something like that.
When you're looking for search engine optimization, you're not allowed to pay places to have links show up in Google search results. If you're paying for search results, you get like, if you were a company and you were paying to have your website listed at the top, the darker bannered search results, those are paid placements. So you search something, a certain keyword, you get shown up in this paid placement. Now, you're not allowed to, we would not be allowed to pay Joe Schmo and that guy over there and this person over here. We're not allowed to pay them to make large quantity of links back to our site.
Which when you do that, when you get all these link backs, it raises the validity of your website and therefore makes it go up and up and up on Google. And it takes months to do this, right? So we start right now. We wanted to start a Tech Syndicate campaign. We call up a lot of similar sites, a lot of smaller sites, and be like, hey guys, go on. We'll give you $50. Go into a million different forums, go onto Twitter, go onto all these different things, and just spread our links. Go everywhere you can, spread our links. If you have your own website, every time you do something, spread our links. And we could pay them to do this, and then that would be completely against Google's terms of service. Now, this has happened before with some rap website. I forget the name of it. It's in here somewhere, but there's some goofy rap website, and we reported on this. It was I think Rap Genius is what it's called.
Yeah, it was Rap Genius. Yeah.
Now they removed Rap Genius. Rap Genius complained, and they were able to fix it in a very short period of time. So they were able to work things out.
I think it was like within a month they were able to they were to isolate, figure out what was going on, fix it, and then they were able to recover their status.
Well, they haven't done anything with Vivint. So Google, what's going on? Vivint seems to want to fix it. What's really the problem?
I think
here?
The article here actually points out that they were left to their own devices to figure out what it was that was problematic, where the weirdness was
Google
coming
won't tell them,
because Google was like, this is what you violated, and they had to go and figure out where it was, and they went and figured it out. They corrected it, they fixed it, and it wasn't anything that they were doing intentionally, but it was something a little weird and shady. It was some link somewhere. It was terrible. But now they are like. Our standing in Google has been damaged, and it's going to take us at least 9 months to get back to where we were.
So they have an error of type 20419, and there's no event log, essentially.
Yeah. So
what the hell is that?
They fixed it, but it kind of damaged their search result reputation, and they're going to have to rebuild that over the course of the next 9 months, which in all reality, in the world of direct competition, if you're looking up home automation thermostats or whatnot, and you get Nest, but you don't get Vivint as a direct competitor, even though you may look directly up Vivint and you're not going to it's not going to show up. You're going to find, you mean Nest? No, I don't mean Nest. Anyway, that it's bad. Google, what the hell?
Let's talk about some things that are good, because science almost always makes me happy. We have a bit of depression in the beginning part of the episode. Then we have science and gaming to redeem it all. So let's talk about putting Wi-Fi on the moon.
That right there is kind of
it's kind of depressing.
It's kind of both, actually. I'm like, this is awesome. We have Wi-Fi on the moon. What was the speed we were getting up there?
19.44 megabits per second.
So what they've done in New Mexico, they created these 4, 6-inch telescopes, the 6-inch diameter telescopes, and they've pointed laser beams. In the same context as like fiber optic lines are a light. You have a light emitting diode that flashes a sequence into a fiber optic line, and that's what is the receiver on the other side.
They could just zap the internet around with laser beams, but things get in the way.
No, exactly. That's it. Like you can actually do this where if you have a photoreceptor and a reflective surface, like I could shine a laser off of a mirror and then back through a window into a photoreceptor, and it will read like audio vibrations that are happening in the window. So you can actually use it as like a long range microphone.
Lasers are badass.
They're pretty crazy. Anyway, so they've got these 4 telescopes that are pointing these lasers into a satellite that's surrounding the moon. And they've got 4 of them because each one is set up to pass the laser through the atmosphere in a different
basically a different color spectrum, because the atmosphere bends
light and whatnot. So they're trying to compensate. So instead of just having one, they've got 4 telescopes pointed up there, and at least one of them needs to make contact with the photoreceptor on the satellite. And they're able to upload almost 20 megabits per second, and they said that they were able to download like 622, which I was like, what? So all of you guys in Ohio who have like crappy DSL and are only getting like 5 megasecond,
move to the moon.
Move to the moon.
Yeah. And there's no regulations on the moon.
Your latency is going to be a little big because, you are dealing with, again, the speed of light to the moon.
1300.
So you get with like a 1300 ping, but that's okay.
That's right, 13.
You'll still get a faster download when you're watching movies and videos and whatnot. You're not going to be able to game very well. But that's okay. You'll be able to game with all the other people on the moon.
Yeah.
And then you'll be able to download stuff from Earth at
19.44
20
megabits per
second.
second. Yeah.
I like this. We need several of these lasers around the globe.
We don't have very many science articles, but we're going to have we don't have any hardware articles because I figured we're going to overload you guys with hardware at Computex. But we do have one more scientific thing to talk about. Scientists have discovered a way to regrow teeth using lasers. More interesting uses for lasers. I mean, they're not just for sharks.
I'm actually kind of afraid because if you get laser beams on sharks' heads, what they're going to end up doing is you're going to have a bunch of shark dentists going around like, oh, look at your teeth came out again, fix their teeth. What this does is you're blasting the teeth or the parts of the enamel with this laser light, and you're stimulating stem cell growth into the tooth, so it actually repairs the tooth instead of having to drill out and replace it with some kind of filling. They're trying to get the stem cells to directly stimulate the teeth, and it's going to regrow the enamel on your teeth, which is like, what?
Yeah, I know. It's like, I mean, right now, the team at Harvard that's come up with this right now, it's not at the stage where it's ready for, send it out to all the dentists yet.
It's almost ready for human trials. They said they were able to do this with some animals, and it's proof of concept is done. So now I'm guessing that they're going to be moving into the approval process for getting into human trials.
Yeah, and it's less invasive is one of the key words here, because whenever anybody thinks about going to the dentist,
they think about getting a drill in their mouth and Novocaine, and this would just be like, there you go.
But wait, the clinical word for that is invasive.
Yeah.
I'm going to put a drill in your mouth and shoot you full of all this weird stuff and crank it open with all kinds of weird plastic things. Slightly invasive.
You can't eat.
Yeah.
You chew on your tongue and you bite it off.
All right, let's talk about some video games. You guys should be watching Pistol. She's streaming Watch Dogs this week. So
I'm jealous.
This is her Twitch channel, Twitch TV/Pistol. We've all been streaming a lot more. Jimmy's been streaming.
I've been moving, so I haven't been streaming. But I got Transistor, so as soon as we get back and I actually have an internet connection, I'm going to be streaming Transistor.
I think Jimmy's been streaming a little bit of that. His Twitch TV URL is Jimmy versus Games, VS for versus. Very easy to find on Twitch. And then mine is Beer Games Beer. And yours
Mine's
is
Deus Kane.
DUSQAIN, not QU. It's not Quain, it's Kane. All right, that's it. Moving right along from there. This is really funny. I just love to highlight how I found this on the PC Master Race subreddit, but this is the Watch Dogs graphic comparison. This is just the thumbnail, to be fair. I'm sure if you click on it, it'll take you to something that shows more, but
I think it's all the same across the board. I was looking at this earlier, and the only thing I could think of is they should have done this vertically instead of horizontally, because there's more things that you could have compared.
Here we are. The camera just died. Put in a battery, and I think the shot's a little crooked now, but we're almost done, and the show must go on, right?
Well, it looks crooked, but when I'm looking at myself, I realize exactly how crooked I am normally. Oh, crap. What is this?
Everyone should just go watch this.
Oh, yes. Just go watch this. This was...
Fast forward a bit here. I'm not sure if the internet here in the hotel in Taipei is going to be fast enough for this, but we'll see. Yep. I'm not going to spoil this, but you guys, you can read the thing on the bottom of the screen there to know what it is already. But
yeah, this is... Damn.
So there may be a Kickstarter to make a full movie, and they're thinking about working on an indie film. But Another World is...
Can I do a voice for this? Because I really would love to get into this. This would be great.
A voice for well, I mean, there's no speaking in the game. Well, other than the I forgot what the alien race is called, but they're like...
I'll do that.
Just do that?
Yeah.
Get into a vocal booth and be like...
Well, if you're going to make a movie, though, if you're going to make a full-length movie, you're going to have some kind of dialogue at some point.
Yeah.
I don't have to be the main guy. That's okay. But I will be definitely one of those crazy alien voices that's making gerbles.
That's me right over there.
Yeah.
You just dye your hair red. You can be well, they've already got it. This guy right here is pretty good as far as the main guy goes.
Yeah, no, I'm cool with that. Give me a helmet. I don't want a face anyway. But yeah,
I mean, there would have to be there's a lot that would need to be, there's a lot to take into consideration if you're going to do this as a movie instead of a game, because the mechanics are made specifically for a 2D game.
Yeah.
And if you're making a movie, you're obviously going to be in a 3D world, unless I've never seen a 2D movie or a 2D side-scrolling movie. That would be weird.
Sounds like something we should do.
Anyway, it would kind of be cool to see a Kickstarter on that. I'd probably back it for $5-10, and then...
yeah, that would be very cool.
I'm not sure what the rights are like with that. It was an Interplay game. Interplay went out of business. I'm not sure who owns the rights to Another World. I know somebody does, because people are making money on it. It's on, it's on Good Old Games, and it's on Steam and all that. So someone owns the rights. I'm just not sure. Bethesda probably.
Probably.
Yeah. All right, System Shock 2. Speaking of old games being remade.
This looks amazing. This guy looks like he's just really bored and he decided, I'm going to make something awesome. Thank
Mr.
you.
SMO, right? So he has remade a small part, I guess, the first meeting with Shodan. If you have not played System Shock 2, there's a few spoilers coming up, right? And so you may not want to watch this because System Shock 2 is such a good game that you should stop and go get it and replay it. And there's also some new graphics modifications that you can get for it.
And while you're at it, go play System Shock 1 too. Or at least just the intro. Go find the intro to System Shock 1 so you can get a little bit more history behind where this whole thing came from. Because both games are really phenomenal. And while System Shock 2 was a more advanced game, System Shock 1 I think had a much more intense story to it.
So yeah, this is pretty wild. They're remaking the game in the Crysis engine. Here's some comparisons side by side. You guys can make these bigger if you want to, or I could do it right here for you.
And he even said that this is like very simple. It's like he hasn't even gone into real detail and like real extensiveness in creating some of these. He's made it very, very. It's like Generation 1 graphics that he's building.
So these are really like the thinking man's FPS. And if you want something that's just pure action, well, they have actually played the first deathmatch game in the new Unreal Tournament. The new Unreal Tournament is going to have a lot of crowdsourced elements, which I think could be kind of cool. And, you know, of course, the graphics engine. But right now, it's very basic. But if you guys watch this video here, they have played the first deathmatch. They're moving around in just kind of a boring arena, but shock rifle's working.
I don't know what it is with this video. This is the one video that doesn't want to load properly.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Oh.
Well, you guys can watch it later, but that's pretty promising as well. And, yeah, that's about it.
All right, well, we're going to the heart of Shanghai tomorrow.
Yeah.
Or today.
Today we're going in like 2 hours.
So by the time you watch this, we will probably already be there.
Yeah, we're gonna be leaving in like 2 hours for Shanghai, so we better start trying to edit this thing right now. So we'll see you guys very soon at Computex. Thanks for all the support. You guys have made things really awesome, and we're gonna make things really awesome as well. We'll have a big pile of awesome. So we'll see you guys very soon.
Yeah. See you guys all next week.